All right, hello guys. This is High Priestess Jamila, and I'm here to do my spiritual review of Tyler Perry's movie Straw. There has been a lot of talk about this movie. There has been actually a lot of controversy around this movie. Mainly, a lot of people saying that Tyler Perry, they don't like him. He's depicting black women in a bad light. And it's just all about the black woman's struggle. That's all he makes movies about. And then there's some people that are saying, make sure that you're highly protected when you watch it, which I think that in a lot of these movies, you should be highly protected when you're watching them. But mainly, I think a lot of people need to focus on putting up your protection before you watch some of these live videos of people that are doing weird things live. And so, but that's not the point of this, okay? Basically, I wanted to give my review of the movie, and I'm going to try to leave the spoilers at the end of this review, and I will warn you before I essentially spoil the movie for you, because first of all, my opinion of the movie, when I first started watching it, I assumed that it was one of those movies where it's just depicting blacks as being ignorant. I did. I'm not even gonna lie. When I first watched it, and that is actually very triggering for black women, and a lot of black women are boycotting this movie. And my whole thing about it is that I have noticed that because of these movie makers, a lot of black women are treated as such, and we're not only treated like nothing, basically, especially in social media. It's I had no idea. Well, I did know, but in social media, racism and prejudices are amplified because people have no filter in social media. But it's not just that. It's a lot of crazy making. It's a lot of testing of the black woman, because people say that we're very strong. And so people want to test how strong you are. And in people's spare time, they want to put you to the test and they want to try you. And this is something that, for me, at least in my experience, and it kind of got out of hand, was that happening. Okay? That exact thing happening. Let me test this black woman to the limit, and let's cross it over into her real life, to where now we're going to actually intercept and attack her family from the inside out. I mean, I actually had someone who decided, I want access, actual physical access to this woman and her family. And it was really weird, and it's still kind of going on, and it's very weird. It's very intrusive, and I ain't worried about it, okay? Now, that part within itself, it's absolutely horrifying that black women are going through this. And it's terrible. And I think that a lot of these movies can exacerbate that. And I've got to mention the movie called The Deliverance, and I will be doing a review of that movie. Now, that particular movie, As I'd like to just use the word spiritualist, I would say that if you are a person that is not heavily protected, you need to light up your protection candles and jars or whatever it is before you watch that movie, because that movie is filled with spirits and things of that nature. And if you're an empath, you want to be careful with that movie. But let's get back on the movie Straw, okay? First of all, I've got to say that, in my opinion, it was a very good movie. I gave that movie the maximum popcorn bags. Mainly because at the top of my list for giving that movie a good review is because of Taraji P. Henson's acting in that movie. She was phenomenal in that. Like, we already knew that Taraji P. Henson was a great actress, but she shined in that movie. I mean, I can't even lie about that. Like, her acting was so superb. I had never seen her in that way. And I mean, she even looked different. I mean, the way she played that role was phenomenal. And we all know that Taraji P. Henson is very well put together. She was not playing herself. And I think that a lot of people need to realize that and stop being prejudiced against the black woman. I mean, these movies in Hollywood, it just seems like it is very, it's very prejudiced towards black women. And I'm gonna say this before I get on the rest of my review and my opinion of what's happening with public opinion of this movie. The thing of it is, as a whole, is that, in my opinion, I think that in my lifetime, what I would have appreciated is for black people to not keep the memory of slavery alive. I am very resentful of slavery being discussed in the forefront constantly. Slavery. I think that in my preference in this lifetime, I would have liked to have not constantly have to be reminded of slavery. And I think that it happens on both ends, not just with non-black people, but also with black people. And I think that if all blacks were sort of together on that, I think that it would be better. However, with things that are still happening in today's world, with white supremacy and racism still being very much active, it's something that we could not avoid because, so I think that at this point, the relationship that blacks could assimilate when it comes to slavery is the fact that we survived it. And what benefits can we take from it is what I believe that should be the main focus of black people. And then, of course, with there being so many prejudices towards black women and men and black people, period, I think that that's something that we all need to get behind. Of course, that's very difficult. So for me, as a spiritualist, as a shaman, essentially, with my spiritual background being in not just Native American, but then also having African roots, and embracing all of my cultures, because I embrace all of my ancestors. I do. which includes Irish and Japanese. I have embraced all, but mainly my Native American, African roots. I believe that we should be on one page together, but that's not possible, to be honest with you, not with any culture. I think it's your individual families. I think that every individual family is different. And when you come out in social media, you're going to run into diversity, people with many different opinions of things. And I think that everybody should respect everybody's opinion and realize that everybody's opinion does not necessarily have to affect them. But then when you look at Black people, we are judged all the same. It's almost like we're not allowed to have our own opinion. And then Black people can be very aggressive with one another when it comes to that. And I think that that's what needs to be said, is that, it seems like they're always expecting you to conform with a leader that is supposed to be leading you, especially when it comes to spiritual stuff. And I don't agree with that. And so that's where we mess up. And then all of a sudden you're getting spiritually attacked. You're feeling some type of way because people are expecting you to conform with other people. And I think that that's the most frustrating part for me, especially when it comes to social media. And then all of a sudden you're getting these mobs of attack from your own people. And so you have to deal with that as well as the racists. And that is how awful and horrible. And then, of course, there's paranoia, there's delusions, there is the need to, there's God complexes. And then the next thing you know, you're getting all of this negative energy that you shouldn't be getting if people, or that you wouldn't be getting if people would just live and let live. Okay. So anyway, as far as back to the review of the movie, I don't even have mixed feelings about the movie. The way that I feel about it is that it's just a movie. But I think that movies definitely do affect us, especially when you are talking about mental illness and when you're talking about Black people. Mental illness is still very taboo in the Black community, and there's a reason for it. It is because of the constant spiritual attack on Blacks. That's why you end up with a lot of confusion surrounding that, to where when it is a case of mental illness, whether or not it's mild to severe, mental illness is so taboo in the Black community. But the thing of it is that spirit and your relationship with God and spirit and your relationship with yourself ultimately is going to depend. It's going to be a result of your mental health state, basically. I think that a lot of factors contribute to the mental state of a person. Okay. Of course, there is mental illnesses that can be created by accident, injury, but I think that it ultimately depends on how your brain was programmed early on. Okay. So anyway, this movie is all about the psychosis of this one woman, which has, to me, it has nothing to do with Black. I think that Tyler Perry could have used a white person to make this movie, and it would have been equally as good. But I think that his choice of choosing Taraji P. Henson has a lot to do with her being black. And Taraji P. Henson and other black actresses like herself would have rather gotten that role than any other race. Now, I think the funny part about it, what I want to point out, is that if Tyler Perry would have used white people in that movie, I think that black people would have been equally as outraged. So you can't please everybody. You know what I mean? Like, he gave that role to Taraji P. Henson, which, she did a fantastic job. Oh my God, like, I was captivated by her acting in that movie. And I think that black people would have been upset had he not used a black woman. They would have been upset. So it's either he create a movie and not utilize black people, or face the backlash. I personally wouldn't care if I were Tyler Perry. You know, let's face it, the man is very rich. He's very powerful. Do I feel that he's a bad person for doing that? I don't. Here's my opinion of Tyler Perry. I believe that he, as a black man, is making movies based upon his experiences, based upon what he feels his passion is at, and his passion lies within the black community. I also do believe that Tyler Perry is giving black people an opportunity, in particular black actors and actresses, an opportunity to be on the silver screen. I feel like he is opening doors for blacks, okay? And I don't think that it's anything wrong with that. Of course, the black community as a whole, do we benefit from these movies? Well, we're not supposed to. It's entertainment. You can choose to watch it or not. You can choose to like it or not. But I do think that at some point, you know, black people need to stop putting so much emphasis on these movies, because they're going to do whatever they want to do, and start focusing on your individual spiritual beliefs. Okay. And then also understanding that, yes, there is a lot of things that are in social media that are a part of social engineering. It's direct social engineering, because there are a lot of people that want things the way that they are. They want you to be who they want you to be. They have their expectations, and that's it. And that is not just with non-black people. There are a lot of very aggressive people out there, especially blacks, that feel that you should be the way they feel that you should be. And they will build these audiences, and then all of a sudden you are the star, whether or not it's affecting you negatively or positively. You become their puppet. And let me break that down for y'all. I have witnessed this, a black person being a vlogger in social media, on YouTube or wherever, and building up an audience of people that are essentially able to end up molding a person, or at least attempting to mold a person to suit their needs. Because for some reason, there are some people that feel the need to make people the way they want them to be. It's weird. I've actually had that happen to the point where instead of people showcasing themselves and saying, hey, this is me, this is where I'm coming from this perspective, and doing it without subjugating another person. That is something in social media that there are a lot, and I'm not saying this is everybody, because I've seen black vloggers that flawlessly present themselves, present whatever product they're selling, present their channels or their social media without doing that. But there are a lot of them that are very harmful, that they have to paint a picture of a person and subjugate another person, in particular, another vlogger or another content creator, and they have to paint a negative picture of that other person, that whether or not that picture being painted is harmful or not to that other person or their family, they don't care. And that to me is codependency. So, and that I have seen at least, I'm talking about several people, not even just black content creators. They're creating almost like this false narrative that's totally false, and even going as far as to stalking, harassment, doxing people, doing all sorts of things, daily harassment, and it kind of gets stuck on that, and they don't focus on what it is that they need to do in real life. And then especially when it comes to black women, it can have a disastrous effect on the perception of black women, and even sometimes can affect the woman. I can honestly say, as a business owner, this has happened to me, and it can be devastating, because that person can utilize other energies to sort of bully the person. So, we can come down on Tyler Perry all we want, but some of these people, and some of it can be extremely negative energy that can be used, because when it comes to people like Tyler Perry, there are a lot of wannabe Tyler Perrys. They want to create something. They want their channels, they want their social media to almost be like a Truman Show, to where, and I've seen it happen. And so I think, when it comes to Tyler Perry and this movie, the way that I see it is that it was very entertaining. It was a lot of plot twists. I think that, and I'm going to give the spoiler now. Warning, spoiler alert. This was a movie that ended up, like, it starts out, you see this black woman, she is, doing her life, living her thing, and her life is okay. Where she breaks down, and what we don't know until the very end of the movie, is that her daughter actually passed away the night before that. So a lot of people got to understand that when she was going through all of this stuff, when her boss got shot, when she had to shoot the robbers, that the night prior to that, Taraji P, the character in the movie, in Straw, her daughter had actually died. So that was the reason why she was so on edge and she was so upset. But she loved that child so much and did everything for her, which is the story of any mother, not just a black mother, but any mother. It doesn't happen that way. She literally went into like a psychosis to where she could not deal with the fact that her daughter had died. The daughter had actually died. So the whole movie, we're seeing Taraji P. Henson the character that she's playing, we are seeing her like literally on the edge of, I mean, she literally checked out. She literally was not there. She was, and the whole thing, even this picture that I use in the cover, she did not walk out of that hospital with her daughter in her hands. She actually walked out with only the blanket that she brought her in there with. She literally took her daughter to the hospital. The daughter died in the hospital. She walked out without her daughter, and they don't show that until later on in the movie. Okay. And many people that watched the movie was so taken aback by the movie that I've even noticed that they didn't even realize. They had to go back and watch the movie. And I think it has a lot to do with trauma. I think it has a lot to do with trauma, with Black people not wanting to face their trauma. And so when they were watching the movie, they didn't even realize this woman, through the rest of the movie, from the time she got up and took her daughter to school, she literally woke up. She literally was pretty much deluding herself, pretty much. When she got the daughter up to go to school, she took the daughter to school, she went to work, went through all of these things, went to, got the call from the school. It was not actually the school calling. It was a bill collector calling. All of that happened was literally a part of a psychosis where she had disassociated from the fact that the daughter had died. The daughter was dead that whole time. And so the whole day was chronicling her not dealing with the fact that the daughter had passed away. And it's sending chills through me too. And it's funny because the next day that I watched that movie, the day after, I couldn't do nothing but think about my kids. So I think that any of us, well, not any of us, there are some people that they would deal with a horrific situation like that. Like, I couldn't even imagine. Like, for me, I've had a miscarriage before that completely freaked my shit out. Okay. I couldn't even imagine. I don't even think about it. It's something that I would not allow to be a part of my reality. I wouldn't. But basically that entire day, she could not deal with the fact that her child was dead until the end of that movie. And that was the point of the movie. So that's my spoiler. Okay. And I think it's a very good movie. And I think that Taraji P. Henson did a fantastic job. I think that Tyler Perry did a fantastic job. And I, for one, recommend seeing the movie. Okay. So this has been High Priestess Jamila, and I will see y'all later. Blessings. Bye-bye.